Hey there! Welcome to another Let's Meet video. Today we're gonna know more about the most psychotic character of all the Grand Theft Auto series, Trevor Phillips. Trevor was born and raised in Canada near the United States, or as he calls it, the Canadian border region of America. In a conversation with Franklin, he claims he grew up in 5 states, 2 countries, 14 different homes, 8 fathers, 3 care homes, 2 correctional facilities, 1 beautiful damaged flower of a mother, and has served time, my country, your country, and myself. As a child, Trevor had a history of rage issues and violent impulses that ruined his attempts to fit into society. Notably, in a fit of rage, he sodomized his hockey coach with a hockey stick, and he implies in a conversation with Cletus that at some point he strangled a clarinet player with his own instrument. Trevor also mentions how he killed various animals and drifters even during the early days of his life. Trevor's childhood itself was an unhappy one. His father was physically abusive to him, while his mother was abusive in an emotional way and saw him as a useless boy who cared little about his mother. When he was a child, Trevor's father abandoned him in a shopping mall, which Trevor later burned down in retaliation. Trevor also had a brother named Ryan, whom Trevor was not fond of. Ryan died in an accident prior to 2013. Does Trevor had something to do with this? We will never know. As revealed by Trevor himself, he dropped out of school, which is a possible reason why he has a lack of some basic knowledge, such as the location of ancient Rome, which he thought was part of America. He also has problems with grammar when it comes to punctuation. It is possible that he had some formal education, as he mentions during Police Chase that he took a night class in criminal law. On the other hand, Trevor has good mathematical skills, which is confirmed by Wade, who says that Trevor is very good with numbers. Later in his life, Trevor discovered that he had a talent for flying jets. He even enlisted in the Royal Canadian Air Forces to pilot fighter jets, but several days prior to completing his training, it was implied his discharge was due to his relationship with his mother. After being discharged, Trevor became a drifter and committed petty crimes along the border with no particular goal in mind. He admits to Lamar that he never committed any serious crimes until he met Michael. They first met each other while escorting cargo across the border. Trevor also tells Wade a story of how while Trevor and Michael was waiting on a runway to meet their employees, Trevor sees not 1 but 2 dust trails coming up the road, despite the fact that he was told there would be only 1 person meeting them. As the second guy drives through the gate, the second driver begins yelling at Michael. Trevor stated that going through the turns of events was horrible, as the flare was still burning from the inside of his head as they dropped him off, disgusting to the point that Trevor and Michael threw up after landing the plane, since the dead man's stench was still inside the cockpit. After the incident, Trevor and Michael created a chagrined relationship and partnership. His first job involved robbing a place that cashed checks. However, Trevor was caught because the clerk turned out to be someone who knew him, resulting in him serving 4 months of 6-month sentence. Over time, Michael developed a relationship with Amanda, which created some friction between them due to Trevor and Amanda's mutual hatred. Despite this, Trevor became a somewhat uncle to Jimmy and Tracy, although Jimmy is understandably nervous around Trevor. Sometime later, Trevor met Brad, who would often join Trevor and Michael and commit robberies together. Michael and Brad did not trust each other, but Trevor got along with Brad at some point, even to the point of planning to cut Michael off and work solely with Brad. Trevor and Michael remained partners in crime until they undertook an ill-fated heist in 2004. As we know from the prologue of the game, the heist was running relatively smoothly until Trevor killed the security guard and the trio had to fight their way through the police and enter the rural town of Ludendorff, where an helicopter was due to wait for them. Everything went bad and they were then ambushed by Agent Dave Norton, who fiended at the trio, fatally wounding Brad and injuring Michael. Trevor refused to leave his friends behind and attempted to fight off the police until a wary Michael told him to save himself and Trevor made his escape. As a result of the failed heist, both Trevor and Michael believed one another to be dead. Trevor was not able to get access to his savings because of his identity getting blown, but regardless he managed to evade the police for several years and made a new life for himself in the rural town of Sandy Shores. There he developed an addiction to crystal meth and founded a small criminal business empire. The business was named Trevor Phillips Enterprises and specialized in gun smuggling and the manufacturing and selling of crystal methamphetamine. During that time, Trevor affiliated himself with the Aztecas gang, the Redneck O'Neill brothers, and higher-ranking members of the Lost MC, including the club's leader, Johnny. However, their relationship was particularly strained due to Trevor's tendency to have sex with Johnny's girlfriend, Ashley, much to Johnny's understandable vexation. Trevor ended up killing him. Trevor is of athletic build with brown eyes and receding dark brown hair. He also has several cuts on his face along with numerous tattoos by default, including one along his neck featuring a dotted line and the words "Cut Here", and a memorial tattoo for Michael on his shoulder, as well as a flying bird behind his ear, blazing skull on his left hand, and the words "Fuck you" across his knuckles. Trevor has a visible scar on his abdomen from what looks to be a knife wound. Trevor also has numerous scars or boils over his lower stomach and back, likely from his drug addiction. Trevor's default outfit is a plain and dirty white V-neck and sweatpants and a pair of brown boots. He seems fond of buying cheap clothes from Binko or discount shop, while he shows total disdain for buying clothes from sponsor buys. Some characters also mention that he is an extremely untidy and messy person when it comes to clothes and hygiene. When Michael and Trevor reunite, Michael claims Trevor smells of piss and has blood under his fingernails. During the Palito Score setup, Michael calls Trevor a proto-hipster because his clothes are never clean and never fit. Also, Lamar claims that Trevor has a smell of ass on the distance of 3 meters. Due to be a former military aviation pilot, he is skilled in both combat and piloting aircrafts like helicopters. Trevor is also the master of greed, ambition and insanity, and is seen in many Grand Theft Auto 5 screenshots performing base jumping, jet skiing, murdering, property destruction, arson, jumping out from moving vehicles and getting chased by the cops. He also proved to be a good strategist and planner. He alone pulled the successful heist on Merryweather Security Consulting and has been able to keep his relatively small organization against other bigger and more dangerous groups like the Aztecas. He also proved to be a powerful hand-to-hand combatant, usually knocking down people with a single punch. He's strong enough to lift and throw people off ledges in several of his switch scenes. Trevor's special ability is invulnerability. While active, Trevor can take an excessive amount of damage without dying, as well as a special melee attack that he can perform. While in the ability, he can survive hits from trains, rhino tank cannon shoots, and being beaten by a mountain lion. Trevor has been described as a difficult person to deal with. Extreme, impetuous, vengeful, psychopathic, unhinged, unpredictable, untamed, infamous, homicidal, and prone to violent outbursts and destructive rampages. He does everything in a sociopathic and relentless manner, unlike Michael. Although Trevor is like this, he is honest about it, and he'll never show hypocrisy. He has his own charm along with his own principles. However, Danhauser confirms that Trevor is still too horrible to be a hero of any kind. He is also quite insecure about being born in Canada and takes offense to people mocking his accents. Trevor's mere presence always puts others on edge due to his extremely short temper and unpredictable, impulsive behavior. In the offshore ending, he gets so angry that he rams his face onto a wooden board and repeatedly smashes his face on it. Out of the three protagonists, Trevor can be said to be a true psychopath as he easily kills with no remorse. He frequently abducts people and takes them to the altruist cult, which is a group made of cannibalistic killers, of which Trevor calls it Friends of the Mountains, and has the habit of making sadistic jokes about his victims. For example, Trevor makes a joke about the piece of Johnny brain left under his boot after he killed him and telling Elwood O'Neill over the phone that he had too many brothers and that they needed culling. When Trevor kills Johnny, he demands that Johnny get up to face him, apparently unaware that he killed him. However, his protectiveness of Michael's family and his grief when he thought Michael was dead shows a level of emotion not common in most sociopaths, as they usually have little to no positive emotions for other people. Trevor seems to only care about the people very close to him, which includes Patricia Madrazo, Maud, Michael, his mother, and later on, Franklin. In contrast to his heavily sociopathic behavior, he has shown many times how needy he is for love and care. His relationship with Patricia was also a display of true love and, in his words, he enjoyed a lot the time spent with her. Trevor also surprisingly cares for Jimmy and Tracy, viewing them as surrogate niece and nephew. Also, he will not allow Jimmy to drink alcohol when hanging out with him. Trevor uses threats of sexual violence in order to show his dominance over other men as well as enjoying making them uncomfortable. He seems to take it a step further with Floyd, as there are many things that suggest a sexual relationship. Notably, if the player switches to Trevor during his stay at Floyd's condo, sometimes Trevor can be seen looking over Floyd as he lays in the fetal position, wearing woman's clothing. Trevor also states that he sexually abused men while in prison. On another aspect, he respects and encourages bravery on partners in crime. During job preparations, he often tends to taunt and call out anyone who shows a sign of doubt, fear, or weakness, and when they get back angrily at him, Trevor applauds and approves their reaction as a way to man them up. In direct contrast to his erratic and chaotic nature, Trevor also appears to be highly intelligent and somewhat cultured. Although seemingly lacking of refined taste, Trevor speaks in a most eloquent manner out of all three protagonists, utilizing elaborate and complex vocabulary. It must be noted that having studied for 4 years at a military academy, Trevor is the only Grand Theft Auto protagonist to date with a college degree. Trevor has shown a number of hints that he feels sexual attraction towards men too, besides his normal sexual dominant behavior towards weaker men. During a mission, Trevor touches the private parts of one of the guys as he is dressed as a policeman. During a drinking outing with Franklin, he admits he has previously performed fellatio on men, and in another conversation during a outing with Michael and Franklin, he admits he's bisexual after Franklin asked him whether he's gay or not. Trevor also implies that as a child he was sexually assaulted by a clown, thus causing his fear of clowns. Although very rarely seen in-game, Trevor appears to be secretly ashamed and a bit scared of his personality. When hanging out with Michael and Franklin, he might reveal in an ashamed tone that he doesn't want his mother to see him like this. Sometimes Trevor says that he feels suicidal. This could hint that all the reckless stunts Trevor commits might be subconscious attempts of getting killed. Also, when drunk with Franklin, Trevor talks about being lonely and asks Franklin to hold him. While Trevor is often controlling, loud, and willing to hurt anyone who he perceives as a threat in some way, he is terrified by his mother. Upon meeting her in his trailer, he speaks incoherent sentences and is unable to answer questions and run off to the job she assigns to him without questioning it. Trevor has had a very positive responses from many fans of Grand Theft Auto 5 and professional video games critics about his fuck-off personality and extreme behavior. Trevor appeared to us pretty much out of nowhere as the embodiment of another side of criminality, of freedom, and of doing what you want. If Michael was meant to be the idea of some version of criminal control or some sort of bourgeois criminal who tries to go straight and get sucked back in, what about the guy who didn't do that? What about the opposite guy? What about the guy who just say fuck off every moment, is relentless, doesn't want to stop taking drugs, doesn't want to stop partying, doesn't want to be told no by anyone, and just completely revels in chaos? Trevor was the other side of the GTA coin, I suppose. He is the person who's driven purely by desire, resentment, no thought for tomorrow whatsoever, completely head rather than ego driven. Constant partying, constant madness. The only thing he doesn't want to do is stop. He wants to keep going and ride it all to the end. Won't take an insult from anybody. Kills without remorse. Like a true psychopath, but very sentimental for the right reasons when it suits him. That seemed like another side of the kind of GTA coin or the GTA world, but very rarely as the protagonist. That seemed an interesting guy to have as a protagonist. Very unlike anyone we've had in a game before. If you began to develop him and Michael and their previous relationships, we wanted this feeling where you start off thinking one's good and the other's awful. Then you get spun the other way. Then you get spun back the first way until you can't decide.
My name is Trevor, sweetheart. Let's go have the time of our lives. Fuck off.
Oh, you really suck.
What kind of fucking animal do you take me for? No, I didn't kill him. Let's go save America.
You are fucking useless. You're like every other asshole.
What's up, homie, huh? I'm fucking new in town. I'm making friends, all right? Now let's party. Shut the fuck.
Only one of Trevor's default tattoos can be removed. Rip Michael. This was most likely done so that players could remove the tattoo once Trevor found out Michael was still alive. Trevor can wear Patricia Madrazo's clothes. They are found in his wardrobe. They could be a symbol of remembrance to him of Patricia, or suggest he likes wearing women's clothes, as he can also wear dresses. Trevor's signature color is orange. The selection of the protagonist's colors may also be a reflection of personalities or individual arcs. Orange is the color of amusement and madness, reflecting Trevor's chaotic and eccentric lifestyle, his destructive habits, and his persistent dark humor. Sometimes the LSPD can be heard taunting Trevor personally over the loudspeaker. This implies that he has had enough run-ins with the LSPD for them to know him personally. Sometimes when visiting sandy shores as Franklin or Michael, Trevor can appear in his yard drinking alcohol and throwing grenades. If the player switches to Trevor while he's doing this, the grenades will disappear and we will have sobered up. If the player visits the in-game website Psychic Shoutout and speaks with Miss Marcy as Trevor, he will hold his own penis and ask her what he's holding in his hand. She will describe his penis as small, frayed with overuse, and special for him, making Trevor impressed. Then, Miss Marcy asks if his mother is proud of him, which makes Trevor very hungry. Then he asks what she knows about his mother and if she is alive, and Miss Marcy ends the conversation. Trevor's initial backstory was that he grew up in the rural American backwoods. However, when Canadian actor Stephen Hogg was hired to voice the character, the producers decided to work Hogg's thick Canadian accent into the character. As a result, Trevor's origins were changed and the character was now purported to have grown up the near Canadian border. Trevor sleeps for the longest time of all three characters. When saving, the game skips ahead 12 hours. One of the withdrawal symptoms of methamphetamine is sleepiness and fatigue, which may explain why he sleeps the longest. Trevor's favorite radio stations are Channel X and Los Santos Rock Radio. This can be assumed because it can be listened on the radio in his trailer, Floyd's apartment, and his liquor store. In GTA Online, if playing as a female character, Trevor will get angry because he claims the character is ruining his business without calling, writing or sending an inappropriate selfie of your tits. He will then tell the character that he loves her. According to the game files, Trevor was originally going to be called Seaman, although this could have just been his ID. While Michael and Franklin have the ability to kindly greet random people on the street, Trevor can only taunt people, leading them to either run away or fight him. Trevor can also taunt gang members, overweight people, homeless people, hipsters, the LSPD, and the elderly. During friendships activities with Franklin, Trevor reveals that if he wasn't expelled from school, he may have a profession in the arts, such as a singer or an artist. He claims that he had something very big to tell the world. That's all we have for Trevor. Give this video a like if he is your favorite character and subscribe for more videos. Thank you for watching, and we see you on the next video. Bye bye.